Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the recently passed Trump budget could mean significant hits to renewable energy projects in Arizona. Also tonight, an update on development of what was Metro Center Mall. And we'll meet the local artist who painted a 23-story mural on a downtown Phoenix high-rise. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Wildfire update. The Dragon Bravo fire near the north rim of the Grand Canyon containment dropped to 13% today. That's half of what the containment was yesterday. Now, dry weather and gusty winds have pushed the fire to 45,000 acres with more than 1,000 firefighting personnel still on the scene. The Arizona Republic reports that flames are now about 4 miles from the Kaibab Lodge and nearby Rim Country Store. This same fire destroyed the historic Grand Canyon Lodge at the North Rim earlier this month. Arizona is joining 19 other states in suing the Trump administration's efforts to obtain personal data from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP. The suit claims that the administration is improperly attempting to gather Social Security numbers and home addresses from low-income families that use food stamps. The suit claims that the administration's move violates state and federal privacy laws. A federal judge today indefinitely blocked provision in the President Trump's policy bill that withholds Medicaid reimbursements to Planned Parenthood. The order extends a temporary block that the same judge imposed earlier this month. The judge ruled that the policy targeting Planned Parenthood likely violates Planned Parenthood's First Amendment rights and could also amount to legislative punishment. And it's a big week for economic news with reports due in the next few days on gross domestic product, consumer prices and consumer spending, and the job market. The Federal Reserve is also scheduled to meet on Wednesday to set interest rates amid pressure, often personal in nature, to lower rates from President Trump. And Friday is the president's deadline for countries to reach trade deals with the U.S. or else face sharply increased tariffs. President Trump's reconciliation budget calls for the phasing out of tax incentives for renewable energy and advanced manufacturing. Now, the impact of the cuts could be considerable for Arizona's renewable energy products. And for more, we welcome Steve Zylster. He's president and CEO of the Arizona Tech Council. Good to see you again. It's been a while.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate it.
You betcha. All right. How much of a phase out are we talking about here, and what is being targeted?
Well, first of all, it's almost a complete phase out. Let's start with the Inflation Reduction Act, one of the largest pieces of legislation in U.S. history, and certainly the most significant when it comes to renewable energy. $369 billion that was designed to create advanced manufacturing jobs, address our energy needs, lower pollution, all these grandiose plans for this act. And the Big Beautiful Bill, as it's called, essentially guts most of that. And let's start with rooftop solar. One of the incentives was credits if you got clean energy put on your home. Another was if you created a more efficient energy environment in your home. Electric vehicles, there was $7,500 credit for an electric vehicle, $4,000 if it was a used electric vehicle. Massive projects on the utility scale for both solar and wind to address our energy needs. We have this massive demand right now in Arizona for energy as a result of all the massive growth we're seeing here in Arizona, and much of that is looking to be cut.
Okay, the administration looking to cut these things because we're over budget. They're looking for anything. Obviously, there are a lot of things being cut right now. What reasons have you heard, though, for these incentives, this renewable tax incentive? As you mentioned, that's a big deal. Why is that being cut?
Well, this particular administration doesn't really believe in clean energy or electric vehicles. You've heard the President of the United States talk about drill, baby, drill. He's really focused on the petroleum industry and not on the climate change issue that we're all facing as a nation. We see it very vividly here in Arizona with the higher average temperatures that we're seeing every year. I'll just tell you that the The impact that the IRA had so far before the big beautiful bill was enormous. $13.2 billion in investments here in Arizona, creating 19,000 jobs. There are 130 projects that were either announced, started, or completed in the clean energy space. I saw in June that some data came out that suggested that if all of these cuts in the big beautiful bill are put in place, that has a $58 billion, 69,000 job impact on Arizona.
On Arizona alone?
On Arizona alone.
So these things basically are stopped in their tracks, these projects?
They're stopped in their tracks. Some of them in this year, like the credits for use of clean energy at home. Electric vehicles ends at the end of the year. So, and then the rest are phased out in 2026 and 2027.
So things are staggered along the way.
Things are staggered somewhat.
For those who say, and the argument is made and can be made, that these incentives aren't needed, that renewable energy, if it is the wave of the future, if it is the best thing out there, it should be able to stand on its own. How do you respond?
Well, I would say that the other industry, the petroleum industry, has all kinds of subsidies. It's been subsidized forever, as are many industries. And the United States has a history of when you have a policy objective, which is to clean up our air, which is to address climate change, then the federal government makes an investment in that for a period of time until it can, as you suggest, stand on its own.
Was the IRA, though, a propeller, an accelerant to where this industry can better stand on its own now?
It was a massive accelerant. As I said, you heard the number of projects that we're looking at in Arizona, and all of these projects address climate change in some form or fashion.
These companies that are going to get hit, the industries, just the entire sector, is there preparation? Are people working right now to handle these phase-outs?
People are trying to figure out how to deal with it. I'll give you a few examples. LG is building a battery facility here in Queen Creek. That's going to be affected. Lucid Motors is building yet another factory in Casa Grande. Heritage Recycling is building a lithium-ion recycling facility in Eloy. People aren't going to buy as many electric vehicles if they're not getting a $7,500 credit. So it's definitely going to affect the demand in all of these industries. By the way, I heard one utility say that the impact on them would be almost $400 million that would have supported building solar facilities and so on to produce the kind of power that we so desperately need here in Arizona.
But those construction projects that you mentioned, will they continue? Will they be put on pause? What are you hearing?
I think it remains to be seen. I think each of these organizations is going to have to figure out how it's going to deal with it. If there's lower demand, that's going to have an impact on workforce. And it really remains to be seen because this just happened, of course. And of course, there has been knowledge that it could happen. So I'm assuming that they've developed a strategy to address this long term.
I was going to say, it's also can be argued that the current administration is not necessarily set in stone on a lot of things, from tariffs on down. Is this something that could possibly teeter-totter the other way?
Well, that's why I'm here today. I think all of us have to continue to advocate for that. We all care about the health of our children and our grandchildren, and the effect that not having these kind of incentives will have on our economy and on our environment is going to be profound.
And that's what's next. I was going to ask what's next for you and the council, but what's next is probably getting the word out.
We're going to continue to advocate. We're continuing to discuss this with our congressional delegation who can make a difference when it comes to turning things around. So we've been busy educating them. There are many of them that are on board with this, and we'll continue to advocate at the federal level.
Steve Zylstra, again, Arizona Tech Council, the president and CEO. It's good to see you again. Thanks for joining.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Yo, Ma, you hear that? I'm a prince.
On Finding Your Roots, Tracy Morgan
My dad died when he was 39. I said, I don't want to go out like that.
and Anthony Ramos.
Yo, this is wild.
A great-grandmother's secret
So my name would have been Tracy Alexander.
That's right.
Wow.
and a long-lost king.
Come from royalty, brother.
Definitely didn't feel that way in Bushwick.
Tuesday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
On American Experience.
Monopoly is America's game. It's the games of our childhood.
But there's a dark side too. I only win when you lose.
Monopoly creates a very false sense of we all started off equally, and if I've got ahead, it must be my skill, it must be my hard work.
It was supposed to be a critique of capitalism, and it turned out to be a celebration of it.
Ruthless. Monopoly's Secret History on American Experience.
Tuesday night at 8 on Arizona PBS.
This summer marks 5 years since the closing of Metro Center, a major local shopping mall and gathering place. The mall may be gone, but there are all sorts of plans for developing the site. And joining us now is Phoenix Vice Mayor Ann O'Brien. Welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And before we get too far on this, because so many people have moved to Arizona so recently, they have no idea what a Metro Center is. Where was Metro Center and how important was it to the community?
So Metro Center is between Peoria and Dunlap Avenues on I-17, and it was incredibly important. It was built in the 70s, and it was the crown jewel, one of the largest shopping centers west of the Mississippi.
And a lot of people that were born and raised here in Phoenix, certainly that spent a lot of time here, including, I believe, the Vice Mayor of Phoenix, have some memories of Metro Center, huh?
Yes, lots of memories. I grew up in that mall, worked in that mall, spent lots of money in that mall.
Yeah, I'll bet, yes. Okay, so it was a big deal. Why did it close?
As we have seen across the country, right, shopping centers have closed down due to online shopping and just the busyness of folks. And so 5 years ago, it shut down, and we've been working very hard to find somebody who would buy the property and renovate it, bring it back to its austerity of crown jewel.
And we're seeing some of the what exists right now of,
yes,
of
so
Metro Center. What are we looking at there?
The demolition is complete. What is left is Walmart, a self-storage, and then the old Sears building. And so that started last November. It's all down now. It took a while due to the asbestos that was in there because it was built in the 70s.
Interesting.
And they were doing a lot to save what they could and recycle what they could. You can see those piles there show things that they're going to recycle, steel and whatnot. So
I think Walmart will survive us all, no matter what happens.
I'm pretty sure
out
they
there.
will, yes.
Okay, so what is going to happen here? Because I'm hearing about something called the Metropolitan, maybe a transit-oriented urban village. What the heck's going on here?
So in a nod to Metro Center, the folks Concord Wilshire that bought the property renamed it Metropolitan, and it will be a combination of housing and retail and commercial property. There will be amenities there, so an amphitheater, a dog park, a place for markets, and yeah, a lot of great ideas. Here you can see some of the retail shopping that will be able to occur, restaurants with outdoor and indoor seating. There will be a large parking garage as well, but that parking garage will be a little different than what us Phoenicians know because it will have amenities on top of it. Yes.
Explain.
So pickleball courts, a restaurant, event space. So
on top of the parking garage.
On top of the parking garage.
Well,
so
that's using space pretty wisely.
It is. This is about 68 acres, and it's important to utilize it all best that we can. The Thelda Williams Transit Center is here, so you can light rail to downtown or South Phoenix.
I was going to say, it seems as though it's called a transit hub, and light rail is part of. I mean, was light rail the impetus for the? I mean, how important was light rail to this project?
I think light rail was pretty important. This had always been a transit hub relative to our bus system. Since I was a little girl, I used to ride the bus to and from the mall to shop and hang out with my friends.
You mentioned housing. How affordable is this? What kind of housing? Is it townhouses? Is it condos? Is it single-family homes? What are we looking at here?
So we're probably looking at some townhomes, and for sure, and then possibly some multifamily, about 1,100 units, and in a variety of pricing. And they will be mixed in amongst each other. I think what Phoenicians are often used to is different levels of homes built out in different parts of a neighborhood, and this will be all interspersed.
Real estate, you're talking about for sale, for rent, a little bit of both?
Yes, both. So you'll be able to buy, and then you'll have some options for renting. And so hopefully we'll appeal to folks who are our firefighters, our nurses, our teachers, as well as folks who are just looking to be able to lock and leave.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, who's the target here? Who are you looking? Who are these people? These fake people here? Who are they?
I think it's a wide variety of us. It's somebody like me who's ready to, have a little less responsibility around the house and be able to travel more. It's our teachers and our firefighters, folks who need to buy a first home. We have trouble with first home buyers and products available for them. So,
how much of the old Metro Center design will remain? I mean, will people like you and those who grew up at Metro, will they go, oh, I remember this, or are they going to be completely lost the minute they walk into this area?
I think the most significant thing about Metro Center was the loop. The loop that we all cruised if you were from here and were a teenager during that time frame. I'm sorry, Dad. But that will remain, and it will have retail, and it still actually is vibrant today with many restaurants. So that will remain, but where the mall itself was, that will look much different because of the openness and the outdoor seating and the housing.
Okay, so there's no design homage to the old Metro.
I think they've taken a little bit of the some architecture signage, but that a little bit.
Okay, so what's been the community reaction? Are there folks that are saying, wait a minute, what happened to my Metro Center?
No, I think folks are very excited to have this come. The mall has been closed for so long and had issues prior to closing. So the neighborhood really, the community has embraced this change. It's already impacting some changes around it. To the south of the mall, what was a retail center and a large parking lot has become more housing. So that's really great news for us. Some commercial development to the north. So we're already seeing impacts to the area.
Timeline for completion, and what do I mean by completion? I mean, is it going to be phased in, the whole thing at one point?
I believe it's going to be phased in. So now that they're done taking it all down, now they're dealing with what we call a spaghetti of mess of infrastructure below the parking lot. Once they get through that, I think we'll start seeing some vertical building late 26 or 27.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of ways to go.
Yes, we do have some ways to go.
All right, Ann O'Brien, Phoenix Vice Mayor. Are you excited about this as an old Metro Center person?
Oh, I am overjoyed. I was sad to see it come down, but it really was necessary. I believe this is going to become the crown jewel again of Phoenix.
All right, very good. It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for your time.
Dutch treat, you were sweet, darker shame, darling, darker shame. Save those lies, darling, don't explain. I recall Central Park in fall, how you tore your dress, what a mess.
Layla Parnian is a local artist who painted a massive mural on a new apartment building in downtown Phoenix. The mural is more than 20 stories high, and it's one of, if not the tallest mural in the state. We welcome Layla Parnian to Arizona Horizon. It's good to congratulations on that, by the way. I mean, everyone probably talks about it, but how many people just say, job well done?
Yeah, I have people saying it.
Good.
It took 21 years to become an overnight success.
Well, yeah, let's talk about, and what is it like? I mean, what is it like? You know, artists can see their art on a wall and in an exhibition or in a museum, whatever. You see yours on a 23-story building. What's that like?
I was there the other day, and I was mesmerized. I was like, I can't believe I did that.
Oh, so, but then not only that, but that's kind of you, isn't it? That's a kind. Those are your eyes.
That's my eyes and eyebrows. Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
I intentionally did that because my story, it's unique, and I wanted to inspire their artists to follow their dreams. So.
Yeah, and as we're showing it, I'm sure a lot of people are going, oh, wait, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen. Where exactly is that located?
First Avenue and McKinley.
Okay. And
on the Saya building.
What's it called again?
Saya.
Okay. All right, there you are again. All right, how did you get involved with painting a mural on an apartment building 23 stories high?
About 5 years ago, a gentleman named Mitch said that there was an opportunity for me to meet with the owner, Oz Friedman, of the building. So I met with them about 5 years ago. They were interviewing me to be their artist for murals inside the building. And at that time, I had only painted murals for 1 year. I've been an artist for over 20 years, but murals started in 2018. So this is 2019. And they're like, what's your dream, you know, as a muralist? And I'm like, my dream is to hang off the side of a high rise and paint a mural. And I remember they both looked at each other like, who says that, right?
Right.
And they made it happen. Oz made it happen.
Yeah, well, we're seeing it happening right there as you're hanging off the side of a building doing this. I mean, when they told you what they wanted, was it a little, whoa, I don't know if I can do this, or was it?
Oh no, I wanted the challenge.
You really wanted it.
I wanted it.
So, and you knew you could do it.
I always say yes, and I figure it out later.
Did you know what you wanted to depict?
Not at that time, initially, when they approached me, but then, you know, he just said he wanted something different. You know, everyone wants the desert scapes and the sunsets and the cactus. He's like, I want something. And I'm like, I'm gonna do something out of the box. And I really want it to be something bold and vibrant and a beacon of hope for creatives, and just, you know, able to make people feel some type of way without saying a word.
Okay, so that's great. But how do you do that when it's 23 stories high? How do you block it out? I mean, do you trace? What's happening here?
So a lot of times for murals, I'll use a projector, and a lot of artists will use a grid system or a doodle method, but I actually freehanded this with an architectural, like 12-inch scale, and went, you know, level by level.
So you did it in miniature first, and then broadcast it, if I were to display it on there?
I made a small, like my rendering, and I went based off that to figure out if the eye on my, you know, paper is 12 inches. I had to blow it up on scale to whatever, just using a little architectural scale and a ruler.
So basically, there was no grid involved here at all? Yeah. I mean, people must be, other artists must be saying, how in the world did you do this? But now we know.
That's how I did it.
Yeah. When you were in the process of doing it, did you ever stop and say, what did I get myself into?
I loved every minute of it.
Did you really?
I love the challenge. I loved it. Yeah. I want to do more. I want to do bigger ones.
Do you really? All right.
I really do.
Well, so I'm seeing you're not alone here. I'm seeing you got some help. Describe the help that you got.
So I hired two professional artists, Danny Lorden and Sean Fortin. They came on. Danny was with me the whole time. Sean was there about half of the project. And they trusted me and helped me bring my vision to life.
Yeah. When it came to life, is this what you envisioned? It has to be, because you had already made the miniature, correct?
Yes. I had 5 years to think about this.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Friends and family, were they encouraging? Were they saying you're nuts? What were they saying?
I think everybody thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
Like everyone thought I was crazy. But in natural Layla way, like this is just what I do.
Okay, so how many years again? From the first drop of paint?
2019 is when I was approached. 2025 is when it's complete.
Okay, but from the first drop of paint to the last drop of paint?
2 months.
That's all it took?
We're fast.
So there was a lot of planning involved.
Yeah, a lot.
Is there a lot of planning involved in mural painting?
In general, I don't think a lot of people who hire muralists understand how much planning is involved and renderings and going back and forth, and just even the prep work. The prep on this mural took a long time to prep the balconies and the middle windows and the side panel.
Well, and I was going to ask about the middle windows,
Yeah.
because that's one of the first things I notice about it. Not the fact that it was 23 stories high, but it's like, wait a minute, that woman's face is bisected by a...
This is the hardest thing, in my opinion, that I could do as a mural, because you have two tall, skinny panels with windows in the middle of it, plus balconies on one side and a metal fin on the other. It's not just a rectangular, easy.
Yeah.
Like, we were on a swing stage. It was a project.
Were there residents in the place while you were
Not yet.
Not yet.
They're
Okay.
starting leasing actually now.
So my last question to you is, obviously this is a raging success. What's next for you?
I have a lot of things in the pipeline. Some things I can't share, but I have everything from my epoxy projects to other murals coming up. And I also DJ, so I'm planning to DJ and paint live at the same time.
Holy smokes, I've never
Yeah.
heard of such a thing.
Yay,
Good
I
for
got
you.
some tricks up my sleeve.
Well, congratulations
Thank
on
you
that.
so much.
Again, it's amazing. When we thought about doing the story, I thought to myself, I've seen that,
Yeah.
but I've never really seen it, and now we have. Thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome. Thanks for having me.
us. Layla Parnian again, and that is at First Avenue and...
McKinley.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.